Laser sights enhance and maintain your accuracy in a time of crisis, preventing tunnel vision and allowing quick target acquisition in awkward shooting positions. Crimson Trace, making laser sights standard equipment. Learn more at crimsontrace.com.
Today on Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, examining misconceptions about police-involved shootings, the best ammo for cold weather, your range reports, and more. Call in now. 1-TOM-TALK-GUN. Now, here's Tom.
All right, stand by for a magazine full of information. We're going to be loading up and firing down range. We're going to be giving you some intellectual ammunition today because it's Gun Talk, and I'm Tom Gresham, your host. We're going to be having a whole bunch of fun. In fact, you may want to call your friends and neighbors, tell them to turn on the radio, tell them to stream this thing, tell them to get it any way you can because we're going to be covering a ton of stuff today. We're going to be talking about a kid's book on guns and gun safety. We're going to be talking about gun rights with a guy who flat out knows this stuff. We're going to be talking about ballistics and shooting and how to hit stuff, maybe at long range. We're also going to be talking about some of the myths and the misconceptions about police shootings. We'll also talk about the things you want to talk about. All you have to do is give us a call, and you can bring up a subject as well. If you've been out shooting, I'd love to get those range reports. Where'd you go? Tell us about the range you went to. Tell us about the guns, the ammo that you used, the people you took out shooting, or maybe the folks who you met while you were out there, good, bad, or indifferent. Love to get those stories. Again, 866-TALK-GUN, or just dial Tom Talk Gun. We have winners. We have winners. You know, of course, we do these giveaways. It's always a lot of fun. Last month's Nosler giveaway, we have selected winners. They will be getting their emails this week, but just in case, giving you a heads up here, the grand prize winner is Donald M. in Pennsylvania, getting a CMMG Mark IV V2 rifle and 22 Nosler and 300 rounds of 22 Nosler ammo. First prize winner is M. Wilt, W-I-L-T, in New Mexico. Going to be getting a Works 22 Nosler barreled 18-inch DMR rifle. Pretty cool stuff. A lot of other things going on. If you want to enter for a chance to win this month's giveaway, just go to guntalk.com/win, W-I-N. This month we're doing a giveaway with Liberty Safe. Two winners are going to receive the new Liberty Safe Biometric HDX 350. That's a brand new handgun vault. It's got a pull-out drawer. Very cool. And then two winners are going to receive the full-size soft shell magnetic cases. Again, guntalk.com/win, W-I-N. Went out and did some shooting yesterday. Went to the range. Actually, it was stupid. I don't shoot as much as I should. Who does, right? I certainly don't shoot as much as people think I do. And usually when I'm shooting, it involves doing television. And as I tell people, boy, if you want to screw up your shooting, go out and try to do it for the TV. Because you're really thinking about, do you have the angles right? Is the light right? Are the cameras doing what they're supposed to do? Are you saying the right things? Oh, yeah, by the way, you should be shooting at the same time. It's really not conducive to working on your accuracy, your speed, or frankly, anything else. So we went out and did some sporting clays shooting yesterday. Had a ball. Now, you may remember we had this fire back in the summer. Still not into the house, so everything's in storage, including guns. Actually, I could not find it somewhere in storage. The one shotgun I have that has been fitted to me that I shoot fairly well. So I just pretty much grabbed the first thing that came to hand. And interestingly enough, it was an older Remington 1187 12 gauge left-handed version with the light contour barrel, which is a very nice shotgun. Balances real well. Went out and shot, and, in typical fashion, because I'm not much of a clay target shooter, probably broke in the neighborhood of 50%, maybe pushing 60%, who knows. But it was fun. It was just a nice morning out, and it reminded me, as stupid as this sounds, this shooting thing is really a lot of fun. And I envy those who get to do it a whole lot more than I do. But I'm going to be working on it. I'm working on doing more shooting as we go out. I want to share a story because you're seeing a few stories right now in the news of, I think the last 747 airliner operated by an American carrier is going to be retired. Of course, the 747 is this monster jumbo jet, which came out 40 years ago, maybe more than that. It's a long time, maybe close to 50 years ago. Unbelievable. But it's still huge. It's still impressive. And so a lot of stories about that. But it reminded me of a story, and yes, it involves shooting. Okay? Yes, an airliner and shooting. Way back, this would have been 76 probably, 76, 77. I'm in Montgomery, Alabama. I was just getting into bullseye pistol shooting. For those of you who are too young or haven't been exposed to it, that's the style where you shoot one-handed, usually one hand in your pocket, the other hand is operating the gun. And they have different stages, but you have a rapid-fire stage where the targets are turned sideways to you. And then on the command, they turn and face you so that you can shoot at them. And it's a period of time, it's 5 or 7 seconds, or 10 seconds rather. So they turn, face you, and then when they're done, they turn back. So you can't shoot them again. And you got to get all your shots in on these targets while it's turned, all right? Just basically turn targets. So that's the premise. So I'm shooting with a buddy there, and he says, yeah, I don't know how we got onto it. We was talking about airplanes. He said, yeah, I had an experience. The first time I saw a Boeing 747. And if you're old enough, you remember, it's like, holy cow, it's like a skyscraper flying in the air. He said, I was on the line at a match, and a lot of times, you probably are aware, gun ranges are near airports. They're both noisy. They put them all out there. They figure the gunfire isn't going to bother anybody if the jets are going overhead. So he's all lined up. He's ready to go. And just as he brings his gun up and the targets turn, he looks up, and there's a 747 coming toward him low on approach. I mean, it's coming straight at him. He said he stared at this behemoth in the air the entire time, did not fire a single shot, and then the targets turned. And he never got a shot off. He just watched this huge 747 come over him. He says, I'll never forget it. So there we go. So, yes, we could be distracted even in the middle of a shoot. Pretty crazy out there. All right, 866-TALK-GUN, get you in here. I'm Tom Gresham. We'll be right back with more Gun Talk.
The Black Hills. There's nothing like it on Earth. The kind of place where characters become legends. Wild Bill Hickok, Crazy Horse, Calamity Jane. Pick any part of the world and you'll find people go there to make it their own. But this is where people come to get made. This is the place that made the people who make the best ammo on Earth. Black Hills Ammunition.
Used guns can be a great value, but you have to know who you're buying from. What if you could buy quality used guns with a lifetime warranty from the Internet's largest online reseller? That's what you get at DuriesGuns.com. They stand behind every firearm purchase for life. If you have a problem, they'll either fix or replace your gun. Pistols, rifles, shotguns, and more. Check out their inventory today at DuriesGuns.com.
Built to perform in the harshest conditions, the Ruger American pistol can take it all, from ice to dust and everything in between. The Ruger American pistol features a short take-up trigger, Novak sights, and a recoil-reducing barrel cam with low mass slide for reduced felt recoil, plus a modular grip system with 3 sizes to fit almost any hand. Check it out at Ruger.com. The Ruger American pistol, because anything else would be un-American.
Since 1937, Ducks Unlimited has led the charge on wetlands and waterfowl conservation. Wetlands reduce the effects of flooding and recharge our drinking water. But perhaps most importantly, they allow us to experience what makes the outdoors so great. Band together to rescue our wetlands.
You got your carry permit, and that's good. But you know you could use more training. Get the DVDs, which have what you need. Springfield Armory presents Concealed Carry 1 and Concealed Carry 2 with Bata Group. Learn specific concealed carry skills from Top Gun fighting trainers. Get trained. Be prepared. This really is life and death. ShopGunTalk.com. That's ShopGunTalk.com.
There's only one place where you can buy that firearm you've always wanted and turn it into your very own. That place is Brownells.com. Now offering a huge selection of firearms from all your favorite brands. Brownells is the spot to buy online. When you're choosing your gun, be sure to look over the enormous selection of parts, accessories, ammo, and more to make that firearm your masterpiece. Brownells.com. Serious about firearms.
All right, a big gun talk welcome to new station KAVB 98.7 FM in Hawthorne, Nevada. Speaking of gun rights, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That would be Amendment number 2. If you have a problem with that, give me a call. We can talk about it. I'll let you have the floor. 866-TALK-GUN. Here's a quote from President Donald Trump. By calling attention to a well-regulated militia, the security of the nation, and the right of each citizen to keep and bear arms, our founding fathers recognized the essentially civilian nature of our economy. Although it's extremely unlikely that the fears of governmental tyranny, which gave rise to the Second Amendment, will ever be a major danger to our nation, the amendment still remains an important declaration of our basic civilian military relationships, in which every citizen must be ready to participate in the defense of his country. For that reason, I believe the Second Amendment will always be important. And I know a lot of Donald Trump haters will hate that quote, but I wonder if they would hate that quote if they knew the truth, which is that wasn't Donald Trump who said that. That was John Fitzgerald Kennedy in 1960. Ouch! That's gotta hurt. Man. Well, there it is. What's going on with gun sales? A friend of mine yesterday on the phone says, hey, Tom, what's going on in the gun biz? Just like that, just throwing it out there. I said, well, it's a weird time. I talk about this being the best time ever to buy guns, and Lord knows it is. I just saw an ad for a gun store, Bushmaster 7 AR-15 for $660. Buy one, get one free, basically, because they had like 6 or 7 other guns you could get. You buy the AR, you can get another AR, you can get a Ruger pistol, you can get other rifles. I mean, it's crazy what's going on. The simple fact is that sales are down a lot. It's hurting gun makers, it's hurting gun distributors, and it's really hurting gun stores. So here's my thought. I'm just going to throw this out for your consideration, and if you have some thoughts on it, I'd like to hear it. If you like your gun store, this is not like if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. If you like your gun store and you want to keep your gun store, may I suggest that you actually do business with your gun store. May I suggest that you buy guns and ammo, or I can get it cheaper at Walmart. Yeah, right, okay. And next year when you go to your gun store and they're not there and it's a dry cleaner, may I suggest you consider supporting your local gun store. And supporting them, I'm talking about buying stuff there. Not going there, looking at the product, and then going and buying it off the web and cheaping out. They've got overhead. They're struggling to keep the doors open. They have the electric bill to pay. They have workers' comp to pay. They have insurance to pay. And what's the difference in price between them and others? Probably not as much as you would think if you go look at the deals. There's some crazy, crazy deals out there right now. And some really cool new guns coming out. Seeing new things introduced. Oh, Springfield Armory just announced a new Saint. You know, they brought out their AR-15. Now they have a Saint pistol. They announced it at Las Vegas last week. Sent out the releases. An AR-15 pistol, what's that for? What's that all about? Could be a pretty good defensive gun. Could be a really good car gun. Are there times, can you imagine, when you would really like to have an AR-15 for protection and a rifle's too much? The pistol might work for you? I don't know, just your thoughts. If you have an AR-15 pistol, give me a holler. I'd like to know the whys and wherefores and what do you do with it? 866-TALK-GUN. Line 3, Chris is with us out of Utah. Hey, Chris, what's on your mind?
Well, I just got a kind of a range report. I'd like to comment on these French 4956 semi-automatic rifles that everybody keeps passing up because they're confused about its caliber. Okay. It says right on the side they're 7.5, but what people don't realize is the diameter of that barrel is a 7.62. So when you get out your Hornady catalog and the eyes and everything else for it, I reload for them all the time. Yeah. They're actually a 7.62. That's why when they modified that gun back into the 308, NATO 308 Winchester, 7.62 by 51, all they have to do is shorten the chamber because the barrel diameter is a 7.62, and everybody's getting that confused. And
now, which
I've
rifle
never seen that.
Help me out, Chris. Which rifle is this we're talking about?
This is the French semi-automatic 4956 service rifle.
Okay.
And that's been around for 40 years, since 1949, and they just phased it out with their bullpup back about 20 years ago. But I see the AR-15 gas direct gas implement system is based off that gun. That's where they took the idea from. They admitted it right off that.
Oh, no kidding.
49. Yes, it's the exact duplicate, and that's why it has no moving parts like an FM49 or an SKS in the gas system. It's just direct gas implement, blows the bolt back just like an AR-15 M16. But
how long have you been into those guns?
30 years.
Wow.
I've got a dozen of them.
Where do they go for now? If you wanted to buy one right now, what would it cost you?
They're right around $800. But
I guess the question is, why? I mean, since you got a bunch of them and you know a lot about it, why would you buy one of those versus something else on the market now, new?
Well, because they're all steel. There's they're just a simplicity of parts. They do have a slight problem, like when you reload them, you've got to use the number 32 CCI hard primer, the military primer, and feed it really deep and make sure you're watching that. But as a new gun in this plastic world we're in, I never seen a better gun. In fact, Gene Hewen, he wrote a book called The Proud Promise. They ought to read about how this gun beat the M1A, the M14. This gun will do 1-inch groups. All you got with all the modification done to it is you thin the front sight down, smudge it, and of course adjust the trigger a little bit.
Right.
And this gun will do 1-inch groups at 100 yards with its deep sights, and it's they had trials against this with the M14, and this gun outperformed it. So
all right. Well, good information. I appreciate that, sir. I do want to jump to Nick on 2. Hey, Nick in Georgia, you're looking at a shotgun. What are you looking at here?
Looking at how you doing? Glad you took the call. Looking at a TriStar. It's a 20-gauge semi-automatic. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the dealer says it's a great gun, but then I talked to some friends that they do a lot of shooting, and they say, don't buy the gun, it won't hold up. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I guess several questions. One, do any of your friends own one?
No, they don't own one.
No, of course not. Okay. All right. You see where I'm going, right?
Yes.
2, what do you plan to do with it?
dove hunt and, just some sport shooting.
So you're not going to be putting 10,000 rounds a year through it?
No.
Okay. I mean, because there are some semi-autos that will do that if you want to go pay $1,500 for them. So what are you going to have to pay for this gun?
It's I want to say it's $649.
Okay. That's not bad for semi-auto 20 gauge. Have you felt it? Do you like the feel of it?
Yeah, I like the feel of it. I've been to the gun shop a couple of times and looked at it and just kind of debated and asked other people about it. But yeah, I like the feel of the gun.
I found that a lot of times when people say, well, you don't want to own one of those because they just don't last. And you go, really, how many of those have you owned? Well, I've actually never owned one. But I heard, yeah, right. I would ask, if you like it and you're serious about it, I would just ask the gun store straight up. Say, look, how many of these have you sold and how many have come back? And I would just be real straight up about it.
Okay.
And my guess is they're going to say we hardly ever see them back because they probably don't. And if you like it, buy it. It probably comes with a decent warranty. And if you had a problem, you get it fixed. But I don't know what it is about people. And I find this with cars and everything. I mean, trucks. Well, you don't want a Dodge truck. Don't want one of those Ram trucks because, they don't hold up. Really? Have you ever owned a Ram truck? No, Bama, but I heard my buddy. Yeah, really? Okay, shut up. God, I don't know what it is about people. They want to badmouth stuff they've never owned. But yeah, if you like the TriStar, if it feels good to you, go for it, man. Just buy it. I think these may be Turkish, if I remember right. And the Turks have been making some nice guns for a long time. Now, at that $600, $700, $800 range, you start to get into some other possibilities. And I would certainly research what else is out there to see if there's anything else, because you don't want to just make a call based on just looking at one, because there's sure a lot of good guns being made right now. But once again, my first question when somebody starts telling me, oh, you don't want that because, and I always say, well, how long have you owned yours? How many of those have you owned? And if the answer is I never have, then I just stop listening to them. No, I'm sorry, no. Unless it's the guy who repairs them. He says, yeah, we get those all the time. They're always broken. Well, that's a whole different deal. All righty. Hey, when we come back, let's talk about a gun book for kids. Yes, for kids.
Sign up for our Gun Talk newsletter and join the Truth Squad at www.guntalk.com. Now, back to Gun Talk with Washington Times opinion page regular contributor Tom Gresham.
I will tell you, if you want to get an anti-gunner stirred up, and maybe even just somebody who's kind of ambivalent about guns, just mention guns and kids at the same time. And you will either get a rabidly negative response, or you will get at least a raised eyebrow and a measure of concern with kind of a, what are you talking about, where are you going with this? And yet those of us who've grown up with guns, who were introduced to shooting at guns as kids, we think, well, what's the big deal? What's the concern? Well, therein lies the issue. Therein lies the conflict, the dilemma, if you will. Well, there's a new book that might help you with some of that. I'd like to welcome to the show Yehuda Remer, who is the author of Safety On, An Introduction to the World of Firearms for Children. Yehuda.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, all right, so tell me about Safety On. How did this come about, and what exactly is it?
Well, Safety On came about because as I grew up in the liberal mecca of Los Angeles, in a apolitical family, the idea of a Second Amendment never was talked about. I didn't realize that civilians were allowed to own firearms for defensive purposes. I thought only bad guys, cops, and military personnel were allowed to own firearms. And I had a good buddy of mine that introduced me to firearms. And I fell in love with them. I bought my first gun. I had, my wife and I, we had 2 kids. And then my younger brother kind of let slip that I owned a gun. And my parents kind of started freaking out. And I decided, what's the best way to educate my parents, not just educate my parents, but kind of like to get them to leave me alone, thinking that I'm very, here I am mature enough to get married, live on my own, have kids, but I'm not mature enough or responsible enough to own firearms.
Of course, right.
And I started looking into different ways on how I can educate my children about firearm safety, and I was shocked that the only two real places to go were Project Child Safe, from the NSSF, and the Eddie Eagle program
from the NRA.
From the NRA. The problem with, for example, both are great, but the problem with the Eddie Eagle program, for example, is it just talks about what you do if you find a gun somewhere it's not supposed to be.
Right.
And that's it.
It's basically it's really a gun avoidance program for very young children.
Exactly. And I decided that I did not want my children learning about gun safety from the movies they watch and the media and Hollywood. So I started, again, doing my research, and I wanted to buy them a book that I can read to them. And I was shocked, again, to find that there was no book on gun safety for children. So
you wrote one.
I set out with the help of a good friend of mine who's in the LAPD, and he guided me along the way, and Safety On was born.
All right, so the title of the book is Safety On. Now, how is it available? How do people get Safety On?
It's not available on Amazon.
Okay, just go to Amazon, look for Safety On. Is that available printed as well as ebook?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you can get it both ways. What is the basic? Somebody says, okay, so what's in the book? What are you teaching kids?
Well, the book covers really every aspect of gun safety. I talk about what to do if you find a gun somewhere it's not supposed to be, about how you always have to make sure they're locked up and put away, the different types of people who carry guns and for what reasons, range rules, and obviously, the 4 cardinal rules of gun safety. So it really touches on every aspect of gun safety. And again, the subtitle of the book is An Introduction to the World of Firearms. So it doesn't get in depth on, how you're supposed to lock them up and how you're supposed to clean them. That's obviously up to the parent. This is a book solely as an introduction to the world of firearms for children, the first step.
Okay. What age group would this be appropriate for?
When I wrote it, I had in mind basically between 6 to 10.
Okay.
It's easy enough that a child who's just learning to read could discuss, read the book. Mm-hmm. But also, if you're a 10-year-old who is interested in firearms, it doesn't read as a baby book.
Let me ask you: are you getting any pushback on this?
Thankfully, no. Or I guess, thankfully, it would be nice to get some pushback from the left, but I haven't. To the most part, everyone has been very supportive, and everyone has been applauding the book, trying to see what I'm doing, trying to save lives, basically. So it's kind of hard to push back on a book like this when all you're doing, there's no political agenda in the book. It's there solely to save a life.
By the way, it has some really good pictures, some drawings in it, and I love the one of the pickup truck, and he's loading the guns in the pickup truck, and people may not see it at first, but I'm looking on the bumper. You got a couple of bumper stickers. One says support the troops, the other says back the blue. A little subtle, but I like it.
Yeah, that's probably as political as the book gets right there. I personally did not serve in any sort of capacity in the military or law enforcement, but I am a massive supporter of our troops and also of the men and women in law enforcement around the country. So, I kind of gave them a little shout out in the book because they keep us safe.
Right.
So,
all right, what's the book cost?
Book cost, depending on the day on Amazon, about $14.95 for the book, and there's also a companion coloring book. That's the exact same book, just coloring book form. Also, depending on the day on Amazon, $12.95.
Okay, both of them available on Amazon. Look for Safety On, and it is by Yehuda Remer, R-E-M-E-R. Yehuda, thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, you take care. All right, 866-TALK-GUN, Second Amendment, the wording of it. Confusing? What do you think? I'm Tom Gresham. This is Gun Talk.
For tactical equipment for military, law enforcement, and shooting enthusiasts, look for the name Elite Survival Systems, creators of high-quality, intelligently designed products for concealed carry, discreet transport, and rigorous tactical uses. Elite Survival Systems knows there isn't just one method of carry that works for everyone. Elite offers a vast array of concealment products to fit your lifestyle, including holsters, belts, vests, pouches, slings, bags, backpacks, and cases. Find out more at EliteSurvival.com.
The Springfield Armory SOCOM 16 CQB is a serious package of .308 firepower with a long military background. 10 inches shorter than the standard M1A with a standard 10-round or the optional 20-round magazine. It's a thunderous close-quarters battle rifle that stops, fights, fast. Ghost ring rear and tritium front sights with a 5-position adjustable cheek piece. The SOCOM 16 CQB is ready for anything. Springfield-Armory.com.
Nosler has been a leader in bullets and ammunition for decades and keeps growing with new product introductions that follow this tradition. Accurate, highly effective bullets and ammo for long-range shooting, precision rifle competition, and big game hunting. To be the first to hear about new product releases and promotions, follow Nosler on Facebook and Instagram and become part of the conversation. You won't settle, and neither will we. Nosler.com. Crimson Trace announces the revolutionary Link, the world's first wireless laser and white light system. Combining a green laser at 300 lumen light with instinctive activation for AR-type modern sporting rifles. Link offers wireless control of the laser and light from the ergonomic replacement grip, eliminating the need to reach for the rifle's forend. Link. Smart, simple, secure. Available now. Visit crimsontrace.com to find a dealer near you.
Like this: a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Line 1, Glenn out of Pensacola has got some thoughts on that. Glenn, what do you think of that Second Amendment, the way it was written?
Well, before I comment on that, may I just say how timely Mr. Remer's book is, considering that Wisconsin, much to the chagrin of the anti-gun crowd, has just joined 34 other states in lowering the minimum hunting age for children. So his book couldn't have been timed better.
Excellent.
But the Second Amendment, I wish the framers would have left the commas out. Of course, when the Constitution was written, grammar was notorious for throwing in commas everywhere willy-nilly. Mm-hmm. But the fact that the commas are there open up the interpretation that the gun control people want to have. That is that the second noun phrase, the right of the people to bear arms, is just an appositive for the first noun phrase, a well-regulated militia.
Of course,
which makes them want to say.
In English, it doesn't work that way. The first phrase is basically the setup, if you will. It is a well-regulated militia, comma, being necessary to the security of a free state, comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, comma, shall not be infringed. The first part just tells you why you have the second part.
Those commas between the noun phrases and their verbs make it set up so that the right of the people to bear arms is just a restatement of a well-organized militia. In other words, what's guaranteed is the right of the people to have a well-organized militia. That is their right to bear arms, is having an organized militia.
Well, actually, wait. I hate to say it this way, man, but you're just flat wrong. The Supreme Court doesn't agree with you, and I don't agree with you. Let me change it around. Let me try this. See what you think of this. A well-educated populace being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and read books shall not be infringed.
Right. Once again, the commas are problematic. And I understand how the Supreme Court has ruled, and I understand that my interpretation's not the correct interpretation. But I've heard people use those commas, and really, strictly speaking, grammatically, they are correct. That the commas make it possible to interpret it both ways. So maybe just give some folks some ammunition, no pun intended, for rebutting that argument.
Okay, yeah, it's easy. Okay, well, let's start from the back forward then. Let's look at it this way. What does it say? It says, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The first part tells you why that is important, but it doesn't say you have the right to have a militia. It says the right of the people, and the term the people is used 4 times in the Bill of Rights, and it always means individuals. So the Supreme Court has ruled unanimously, I may add, that in this case, the Second Amendment is an individual right and not a collective right. It was not a 5-4 decision there. It was a 9-0 decision on that. The Supreme Court also ruled, and a lot of people don't understand this, in 1939, that the guns that fall under the framework of the protection of the Second Amendment are military guns. In the Miller decision, they said, this sawed-off shotgun, you didn't present any information that said that this is a military gun. If you had, it would be covered under the Second Amendment. But since you didn't, it's not. In other words, they were saying that the Second Amendment guarantees that the citizens can own military guns. That got lost somewhere along the way, didn't it?
Right. Because when the argument being when the framers framed it, they weren't thinking about machine guns and grenade launchers, but they did have cannons, and there's nothing in the Second Amendment that outlaws cannons. So, yes, nothing there prohibits military weapons, of course.
Yeah. And of course, they weren't thinking about the internet or computers or telephones or anything else. So, to say, that they weren't thinking about machine guns or anything, that's like saying, well, the First Amendment would only apply to print and nothing else, which is absurd. And in this case, it's equally absurd. I understand what you're saying, and I've heard that argument before, but I think, honestly, we have moved beyond the comma debate, unless someone is just so objectively biased and narrow-minded that they can't see that the intent, and all you have to do is look at the Federalist Papers, the intent was that, as they say, that every man be armed. I appreciate the call, sir. Thank you. That's a good point. Zach is on 4 out of Ridgecrest, California. Hey, Zach, talk about Second Amendment groups here.
Hi, Tom. I wanted to get your advice on how to get the most bang for my buck when it comes to donating to Second Amendment advocacy groups.
Sure.
Specifically, is it better to concentrate donations to one foundation or kind of spread it across several?
Boy, you could start a bar fight with that. but I'll tell you what I do. And this may or may not work for you, okay? I believe personally that every gun owner should be a member of the NRA, period. I really do. I think, the NRA has 4 to 5 million members. We have 100 million gun owners. If the NRA had 20 million gun owners, we wouldn't have to worry about any of this foolishness. And so I think as a baseline, if you are a gun owner, you should be a member of the NRA, period. Beyond that, I would buy my NRA membership, and then what I might do, to your point, is spread it around just a little bit. And I would probably, just say right up front, I'm a director of the Second Amendment Foundation. I would go join the Second Amendment Foundation and throw some money that way, because I think SAF is in the lead on court cases. The NRA is the champion when it comes to legislative stuff, and particularly in Congress. But I think SAF is doing a great job in the courts. And so I would say NRA and Second Amendment Foundation is a really good distribution plan. If I had 50, 60, 70, $100 that I was going to throw at it, that's probably, not only would it be the way I did it, it is the way that I did it. So I don't know if that helps. If anybody has any other thoughts on ways to go on that, I'm all ears. 866-TALK-GUN. And, of course, looking for those range reports. What are you buying? What are you shooting? I get this email from Joseph. I like it. It says, I know some people wonder why you'd ever want to hunt why you would ever want to hunt with an AR-15. Here's one good reason. All 3 of my kids have killed their first deer over the last 3 years with AR-15s. 2 were 8 years old, and 1 was 9. Yes, using 2 8-year-old and a 9-year-old using AR-15s. Said they were completely different heights. I was able to adjust the stocks to the exact length they needed. Excellent point. The different cartridges used were 223, 25 DTI, that's a 257 and a 6.5 SPC from Dedicated Technologies. And this morning, he says, my youngest son, Zane, killed a spike with a 7.62 by 39. Congrats, Zane. Thanks and God bless. Thank you, Joseph. There you go. Why would you want to hunt with an AR-15? That's a pretty good reason right there. Jack's on 3 in Billings, Montana. Hey, Jack, Second Amendment, what are you thinking?
Hey, I'm a hunter. I grew up around guns. I actually grew up on a ranch in rural Montana. I'm also a senior of political science here at Rocky Mountain College. And what this is, I just want to have a high-minded conversation between 2 people who are educated on the Constitution.
All right. And we have 2 minutes to do it, so go.
Okay. I wonder what you would think about some sort of system where the federal government sets up some sort of framework by which states could set training requirements for militia members to own certain guns, like, semi-automatics or automatics or anything like that, anything above a handgun or a hunting rifle, basically.
All right. First of all, let's start off with what is a militia? That's every able-bodied man up to the age of 60. You understand that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that means every man, and now, of course, we'd have to change that to every person up to the age of 60 would have to get training. You okay with that?
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
Are you okay with applying that to the First Amendment?
Well, no.
Why not?
Because it's a separate issue. I mean, I'm a bit of a freedom of speech purist.
It's Amendment 1 and it's Amendment 2, and both of them are absolute. Both of them are fundamental. Both of them are enumerated rights. So what you want to do to one, you should be willing to do to the other. Why would you not want to impose mandatory government training to be able to use the First Amendment? Because that would be restrictive of your constitutional rights?
Yes, but also, I'm not wanting to touch hunting rifles. I'm not wanting to touch shotguns.
I don't care. It doesn't really matter what you want to do. It doesn't matter what you want to do as long as you understand that the people who want to impose restrictions want to get rid of all of those. Not understanding that is to open yourself up to the avalanche. Look at Australia, where they said, oh, yeah, you also cannot have pump-action shotguns. You also cannot have semi-automatic shotguns for duck hunting. That's what happened there, and that's what they want here. So when you say you don't want that, it doesn't really matter what you want. Remember, the anti-gunners want that. So if you let them in a little bit, that's where they want to go.
All right. Well, thanks for taking my call.
You bet. Appreciate it. Yeah. If you want to restrict the Second Amendment, I suggest you say everything you want to do there, move it ahead one, the First Amendment, and see how well that suit of clothes feels on you. Oh, well, I would never want to do that. Really? That's how we feel about the Second Amendment. And until and unless the gun banners of the world begin to get a clue that that's how we feel, they will never understand. There's actually a new book out. We're going to be talking about it next week. Good Gun, Bad Guy. You might want to go ahead and grab it before we get a chance. It is fascinating and some really good information. And he says basically the anti-gun left is not just in error, they are corrupt. And he's got some really good ideas on how to deal with that. Fascinating stuff. I tell you what, when we come back, we're going to be talking about the Second Amendment with a guy who teaches this stuff. You do not want to miss this.